We got some breaking news coming out here. The Las Vegas Raiders have officially extended quarterback Geno Smith. And today we're going to talk about what this means for the Raiders, because the Raiders did a phenomenal job with this contract. To me, what I see right here with what the Raiders essentially did actually sets the Raiders forward. And I think one of the things we have to realize is your quarterback contract, right? The team's starting quarterback. The contract you're paying them in terms of cap dollars really does make a team good, and it could really hinder a team as well. And for the Raiders have extended Geno Smith for 2 years. Jordan Schultz was first on it. He said the Raiders and quarterback Geno Smith have agreed to a 2-year contract, $85.5 million with $66.5 million guaranteed. He said after landing his new quarterback via trade, Pete Carroll and the Las Vegas Raiders secure Smith for the foreseeable future with a big payday. Let's talk about this contract a little bit. Let's talk about what this means. So 2 years, $85.5 million is going to be essentially what the Raiders are committing to Geno Smith. So if Geno is here for 2 years, he'll get $85.5 million from the Raiders. And I should just back up really quickly. Geno Smith's getting an extension for 2 years, right? So he is technically still already under contract. This year, Geno's going to count $31 million against the cap. The 2-year extension, right, the new contract that they're giving him is actually for 2026 and 2027. So in total, the Raiders are actually giving Geno Smith $116 million over 3 years. To me, that's a phenomenal contract. And I think the Raiders actually ended up getting a bargain out of this. I think the Raiders ended up actually winning because of the fact that the extension was only at $42.75 million per year. You already had him for the first year at $31 million, which means the average that Geno Smith's going to get over the next 3 years is $38.3 million. There's 15 other quarterbacks making more money than Geno Smith. And as I stated earlier, your quarterback's contract has a huge impact on a team winning or not. Think about this. The quarterbacks right now in the NFL that are averaging more than Geno Smith include all of these guys right here. Geno Smith's going to end up being right above Derek Carr. Derek Carr's getting 37.5. Geno will end up at about 38 million. So think about all the quarterbacks getting paid more than Geno. Kirk Cousins is going to be on the bench this year. He's getting paid 45 million. Deshaun Watson will probably be replaced. He's getting 46 million. Kyler Murray's getting 46. Jared Goff and Tua Tagovailoa are both getting 53 million a year. To me, Dak Prescott 60 million. Those are bad contracts right there, right? Those teams are not going to have a ton of success as they kind of go forward. But teams that are able to get quarterbacks on contracts, 35, 38, 37, those teams will be able to have success. In fact, I'd make the argument the number one way to win a Super Bowl is you have to have a quarterback that's good, but the contract has to be a lot lower than where he should probably be, right? And the thing is you look at a guy like Patrick Mahomes, right? They're in the Super Bowl every year. Mahomes is getting paid $45 million per year. There's a reason why the Chiefs are winning. This guy's taking $15 million less than what he should probably be getting paid, right? He's the best quarterback in the NFL. There's a reason why the Cowboys suck. Dak Prescott at $60 million is bad value. Trevor Lawrence, $55 million is bad value, right? So to me, I think the Raiders did a really good job. John Spytek, Pete Carroll specifically, they did a really, really good job locking in Geno Smith at $38 million per year. This is going to set the Raiders forward. I always think back at last year and even the year before that. The Raiders had Derek Carr and they had kind of made the decision that, hey, it's time to move off of Carr. I always felt that was the right decision to do at that point. But the wrong decision was not getting a quarterback, right? It was going in with Jimmy Garoppolo. It was going in with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell and trying to figure out something with guys that really hadn't proven much. Could Jimmy G and Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew have success if you tied them up with Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay? Probably, right? Jimmy G has kind of proven it. But the thing is most coordinators are not those caliber coordinators. And I think for the Raiders, moving off of Derek wasn't the wrong thing. It was not getting a good quarterback to replace Derek. It was kind of the stopgap type of quarterbacks. And now you're going in with Geno Smith, who, some people say this is a stopgap quarterback as well. Because of the fact that Geno Smith is 35 years old. And I do agree with that partly, but I do think Geno Smith's tape is a lot better than some of these other quarterbacks. And I think if you can build a good scheme and system around Geno, he'll actually have success. And this is not a Jimmy G, this is not a Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell type of situation. Geno Smith is very solid on tape. He does all the things you need out of a starting caliber quarterback. Those other guys are always limited. Every single one of them are limited in one way or another. Geno has put together some good tape, and I think as long as the Raiders can continue to build and kind of get it right around Geno, they'll be able to have success. And the fact that it's only at $38 million, making Geno Smith the 16th highest paid quarterback to me is a really, really good value. You know, in a time when most quarterbacks nowadays, even if they're not worth it or trying to get, you know, paid as top 5 quarterbacks. Jared Goff, right, is a 7th highest paid quarterback at $53 million a year. Jared Goff's probably a bottom 5 quarterback in the NFL realistically, right? He's like 0-16 without Sean McVay and Ben Johnson. The guy just can't win without having the best coordinator in the NFL. But deals like that are going to set teams back, right? And I think for the Raiders, the fact that you can get this guy where he's probably valued, right? And that too, maybe it's a little undervalued. But getting Geno Smith as a 16th paid quarterback now means, you know, you can spend that extra $6-7 million on a wide receiver. You can go ahead and say, hey, we have, you know, 15 million tied in Jacoby Myers. Maybe you add another 7 and you get that other, you know, X wide receiver or whatever it is, right? Maybe you say, hey, Geno Smith took $7 million less. Let's pair him up with Amari Cooper, right? Or let's bring in Amari Cooper now. Right? To me, these are the type of contracts that are going to allow the Raiders to have success. Now, I will also go ahead and just kind of put this out there. The Raiders do still have to figure out the long-term solution, right? Geno Smith signing a 2-year extension means he'll be our quarterback for the next 3 years. But it is also important to note, we don't know what the cap hits actually are within this, right? There's a chance that this is really just a 2-year contract for the Raiders, right? $66.5 million guaranteed. You know, you could easily say, hey, we're going to go ahead and take $20 million this year, and we're going to go ahead and just pay that up front to him this season. We're going to raise the cap hit this season as well. Or maybe you create a void year, whatever you want to do. And then next year, we'll go ahead and give him the remaining $43 million or whatever's left in that guaranteed portion. And then in that 3rd year, we're not going to have anything guaranteed. We can technically move off of him if we want, right? So we don't know the actual cap hits, the guaranteed money, and kind of how it's spread out. We don't have any of the dead cap or void years or whatever. But to me, I really, really like what the Raiders have done. But you do still got to figure out the long-term solution. This obviously does tie Geno Smith to Pete Carroll. For the time Pete Carroll's supposed to technically be here, right? Pete Carroll has a 3-year contract. Geno's now technically tied in for 3 years. We'll see what ends up happening, man. I'm excited for it. I love the fact that the Raiders are not only getting better, they're upgrading some of these positions, especially the key positions, but then they're locking these guys in as well. You know, even Maxx Crosby's contract was super team friendly. Really benefits the Raiders. We do raise his caps this year. 3 years, Maxx Crosby's contract's beautiful. And then it's 2 years. And then the final 3 years, it's kind of interesting because the cap hits are a lot lower. So we'll see what ends up happening, right? Either way, I think it's a good contract for the Raiders. I do want to know what you guys think about this contract. Some people have been posting on Twitter that they still think the Raiders should go out and draft Shador or one of these other quarterbacks, or Jalen Monroe potentially as well. Even if it's not in the first round, right, if you're able to land one of these guys in the second round, still bring them in no matter what, right? Because that gives you a long-term solution as opposed to Geno, who's 35. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think the Raiders got Jackson Powers-Johnson in the second round last year. You can get another Jackson Powers-Johnson. If Will Campbell is available in the second round, if Charles Grant or Anthony Belton are available in the second round, those are day one starting guards right there. You go all in on that, right? Why say, hey, let's get a quarterback to develop and he'll start 3 years down the line? Why not say, let's get a starting caliber guard day one in the second round, right? And let's actually try to win now, right? The Raiders, if you guys have not figured this out, the Raiders aren't looking to win a Super Bowl starting in 3 or 4 years. They're looking to win a Super Bowl this year, right? They're looking to actually get better and make the playoffs and push as soon as this year. Now, it's probably not going to happen this year because I think that first year, a lot of it's going to be, hey, you got to learn Chip Kelly's scheme and system. You got to figure out, you know, how things are going to kind of flow and how things are going to kind of work. There's a lot that's going to have to get figured out. We'll have some guys starting like Dylan Parham or Alex Kappa or Jordan Meredith, maybe it's DJ Glaze, that the Seahawks, that Pete Carroll's going to recognize and say, hey, you know, we went through this when I was with the Seahawks. We had guys that we tried. It didn't work. We move on a year or two later. Pete Carroll's not going to come in here and move off of these guys right away. He's going to let them have this first year to kind of prove themselves. And he's also going to figure out which guys have the work ethic, which guys don't, or which guy he sees in the building every single day, which guy he doesn't. And a lot of these decisions will be made, I think, after this season. I don't think it'll be a wasted season, but I don't expect the Raiders to win a Super Bowl this year. But they will push for it, right? So never say never. We'll see what ends up happening. Let me know what you guys think, man. Thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time with another video.